Welcome back in. This segment of the Sports Source is brought to you by Express Frame. And right now, if you are a recent graduate or you got a recent graduate in your family, take that diploma down to the folks at Express Frame, expressframe.net to learn more. But I've been telling you about these folks for nearly 15 years. I think everybody on the set has taken some work down there at one time or another right there on Peters Road in the Common Shopping Center. They are fantastic, and they will set up your diploma in such a way that it will look beautiful and it will be protected for all time. They have lifetime warranties there. Express Frame, check it out. Get out there with anything, memorabilia, whatever. This week, Express Frame. Okay, the SEC finally caved. The word that had been coming out of these meetings in the past had been the last option on the table was conference only, and they weren't going to go more than 8 games. They didn't want 9. And then all of a sudden, this week, all that changed. They're going 10. They're not playing any non-conference games. I was shocked by that because it was not the smoke signals that were getting out didn't include that as even a realistic factor.
And there were smoke signals from the ACC.
Right. I mean, the day before, the ACC said, yes, we're doing the non-conference, so our schools that have year-ending annual rivalries with the SEC can keep playing. Right. And then the SEC kind of surprised them, apparently. Yep. That or the ACC saw what was coming and got out in front of it to try and make the SEC look like the bad guys. We were ready to play. At any rate, you're going to wind up with 10 games, all of them, quote-unquote, good. They're all conference games, so they're all Power 5. They're all, somewhat comparable. I know Vanderbilt's not been good, but Vanderbilt's taken it out on Tennessee in recent years. Everybody can beat everybody in the SEC. I like that better than the 12-game season we normally get that only includes 8 or 9 good games against Power 5 foes. If you gave me the option of every year, 10-game schedule, 10 good games, versus 12 games and 3 or 4 of them that we have to come out here and talk about that suck, I'll take the 10 games. All right. Does anybody agree with that, or do you guys prefer the 12-game season? More football, even if it's crappy wins against Appy State or UT Chattanooga?
I'll take 12, but part of my argument is Vanderbilt's so bad right now, I guarantee you they'll lose at least 4 or 5 games by 30 points this year.
No, they're bad. Their problem.
but you said 10 good games. That's not a good game. That's what I'm saying. Vanderbilt and Arkansas stink. Huh?
Still better than Austin Peay.
Yeah, it's better than Austin Peay, but it's not better than Oklahoma.
True.
So that was a game you were going to play.
Well, that's
if you were Tennessee. And I don't know that they're a whole lot better than Charlotte, to be honest with you. Okay, so I don't think it is 10 good games. So I would rather have 12 because I like college football. The more the merrier. I'd take 12.
Well, and I think one thing this is showing me is down the road, could you play 9 SEC games and still work in a couple of others? John, I think a lot of the fans agree with you because the attendance at college football across the board was declining like 10% just about everywhere. I mean, everywhere you look, people were saying, we're not going to come watch this. This is not what we want to see. So do you play them so you can be bowl eligible? That's one thing that factors into it. But I kind of agree with what you're saying. I like the SEC games, and you're staying like in your own area. Down the road, it'd be easier for fans to go to games. And I would rather travel and go see a good SEC game than to stay here and see a blowout against an inferior opponent.
Typically, the 2 games if you went from 12-game to a 10-game schedule, the 2 that would be lost would be 1 game against an FCS foe and 1 game against some other dud non-conference foe. I don't have any value in that. I know people who have season tickets that don't use them on those weeks. I'm not going over there to watch them play Troy or Charlotte or whoever. Georgia State can up and bite you, but
right.
But for the most part, what's the point of playing those games? I would much rather, if you told me now, in a perfect world, 9 conference games and 1 good intersectional matchup.
Yes.
That's what I would prefer.
Me
That'd
too.
be perfect.
Me too.
And that would be, so you would be, if that were the case, you'd be willing to dump the 2 extra games and go to a 10-game schedule? If instead of 12 with some duds,
no,
10 with 9 conference and 1 non-conference.
12. I'm going to always want 12. The more the better. Now, what I would rather see you do is play some better opponents out of those other 2. Stick in a Brigham Young in there. That's fine. Brigham Young's a lot better than Vanderbilt and Arkansas. So I would rather see you play some of those games, a little bit more of those, and play 12. But I don't buy the premise that every SEC game is a good game because they're not. Arkansas and Vanderbilt suck. That's my take.
I would look at it. Your take's wrong, but that's okay.
Well, there's plexiglass between us.
I look at it this way. It's like saying, I like football, so give me those NFL preseason games. No, I don't watch them. I don't like them. And that's all you're talking about. When you bring Chattanooga or Furman in here, that's just a preseason game in the middle of your season. I don't want that. So
and you might
to
save
me,
the
all football isn't good football.
And you might
that's
save
right,
the
especially when you play
$500,000 you're paying to buy that game too.
But
I mix in some Big Ten. Why doesn't the SEC and the
Vanderbilt
Big
had beaten
Ten play
Tennessee
more?
5 of 7 years going into last year.
Every year,
Every
every year, there's some bad SEC teams.
Sure.
Every year. So
But-
not every SEC game is a good game.
But
So you
your
can't say
odds
you're
are
playing 10
much
games,
greater.
so they're all good.
Your odds of getting good games are much greater if you're playing 10 Power 5 teams, which in this year it's
The
your
odds
SEC.
are better. The odds are.
Okay. Well, I'm for improving the odds. And the other thing is you can
But
then
again, improve your non-conference schedule. That would be my
Right,
argument. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Right.
It will never happen. Nobody's ever going to walk away from games unless you created so much money with your playoff that you increased, you added another round. You say, all right, we're going to 10 weeks or 11 weeks. We're going back to 11, which wasn't that unusual. That was the norm 15 years ago. But 11 games, and we're going to add another round in the playoff, and it's going to make it so much money that we'll divide among the Power 5. Then I could see it happening.
Right.
But
Or if the Power 5 breaks away from the NCAA.
right. It'll be interesting to see if fans do get a taste for this and say, I like this better. Give me more big-time games. But I think that's going to depend on whether you win or lose. So, all right, if you have a bad year, you're going to say, I don't like this. Give me Furman. All right. When we come back, such a crazy year, and this kind of ties into that. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for Jeremy Pruitt long term? He lost 3 guaranteed wins, probably. But at the same time, he's got some built-in excuses if his team takes a little bit of a stumble this year. We'll debate. Come on back.